Hi folks, it's PaleoMan52, and you don't often see my mug on the camera because I'm a little camera shy, believe it or not. But I'm shooting this video in response to a viewer wanting to see me make a Thebes point. So we're going to try that. We're going to see how it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. I've got a nice piece of flint ridge. Now they were commonly made out of this material. This is from Ohio. And it's a beautiful piece of stone, and hopefully I see a few seams in there. I'm not too sure about it, but we'll give it a shot and see if this holds together. Now the tools I want to use is I'm going to use a moose billet and a pressure flaker. This is an antler tine with a copper nail in there, and I've got a set screw so I can advance it and as I keep wearing it out. I also have leather pressure pad. There's 3 pieces of leather sewn together here, and it holds up pretty well. I've used this one for a few years, believe it or not. The tough leather takes all the abuse of the flaking. And then I have a braiding stone. So let's get started. I've got a nice brain tan deer hide here to catch some of the debris so it won't cut into my pants. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start trimming this and seeing if I can thin this out pretty quick. Now years ago I watched D.C. Waldorf make a Thebes point, and he told me a true Thebes should be as flat as a board. So we're going to try to flatten this piece out. Now the first flake I took was the one I like to take, is what I call the price tag one. As you can see, there's part of the price on there. I did purchase this flint, this flint, this is pretty close to flint, from Roy Miller, and I like to get those prices off there because this stuff doesn't come cheap. And as I look at it, I don't see the piece broke off already. That's okay. That's better to break now than when you're further into this piece. Okay, and I'm just kind of giving it sharp blows here. I do see a seam here that troubles me a little bit. I'm not sure if that's going to hold up or not. That's a good platform. Okay, platform held. I'm looking for edges where I can give this billet a good contact and push that flake across. Let's see how this one goes here. Yeah, that one felt good. As you can see, the flake went from here all the way to there. That's a good flake removal. So let me chop away here, see how we do. Let's see if we can get a preform made. Now not every flake is meant to travel all the way across. You do want some shorter ones to get you into areas that need to be thinned or shaped. And so that's what I do here a lot in this part of the game, is I do a lot of trimming and a lot of abrading. Abrading really helps. Okay, another nice thin flake. You know, years ago I was looking for arrowheads on a field, and I found a bladelet that looked almost exactly like this, and it was made out of flint ridge material. So that was something that they would never throw away, as if they were chipping the stone and they got that nice razor sharp blade. That would be very useful to them. So I'll save that. Sometimes you just never know what's going to come off the stone. Got a little traffic noise out here, sorry about that. I didn't think I would have any extra noise because it's raining outside the man cave here right now, and I thought everybody would pretty well be inside. Okay, that felt pretty good. Again, watch this flake, if I can get it off there. Nice, really nice flake. Flat, thin, and it feathered out nice. So I'm going to continue going around this, taking these flakes. You see how I'm just kind of giving it short little blows. Let's see what we can get here. Okay. Sometimes if the flake doesn't come off, you might have to tilt the angle just a little bit from how you're striking it. I move pretty quickly, so you might have a little trouble following me. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for available platforms and setting up a few too. And trying to maintain this teardrop shape best I can. We're still concerned about this area here. There is a pretty good seam, and it almost looks to me like it's going to let go. So I'm going to go after that now and see if it hangs in there. Okay, it did break out just as I suspected, but all is not lost. We will try to continue flaking this piece and see if I can get something out of it. Okay, so far not too bad, but I still do have a seam in there. Okay. Well, we got kind of a hinge here I'm going to have to deal with. Hopefully I can come up and drive that thing off. We'll see how the flaking goes. A little cool day today here in Western New York. I've got another seam here showing up, so I haven't got a lot of hope that this will make it, but I'm not going to give up quite yet. Now what I do a lot of times, and I know you guys probably that have napped and run into problems like this with hinges and things, is I try to relieve those. What I mean by that is I will try to get in there with my flaker and take off some of that height. So what I'm going to do is, I hope you can see this, is I'm going to come in here, right inside here, and take off some of that hinge. Just a series of a few flakes to get that height down. Because if you have a height on the face of your piece, that tends to stall out your flake. So let's see. Now I did manage to get it down quite a bit. You can see there still is a hinge there, but it's not as predominant now, and I might be able to drive a flake and get under it. So first let's take one underneath on the other side. Well, that held up pretty good. Okay. And we're still dealing with a lot of that seam there, but not losing total control of this thing quite yet. This is what you run into. You know, every rock is individual, unique. You know, there's no way of knowing sometimes just what's in the stone. I didn't see that seam too predominantly at first, but they always seem to show themselves. Okay. Okay, so we're getting there. I want to get this down to a preform, and then we'll talk about what makes it into a Thebes. Pretty rough right now. Okay. Now, I've kind of got a square edge here. You can see it right there. So I'm going to try to chop that off there by coming down on it. Like, okay, I'm back again. My camera died there for a little while, so I had to go in and charge it. And hopefully it stays running this time. We'll have to wait and see. So I'm going to pick up where I left off. See if we can get a little more thinning done here. Okay, so that seam is kind of worked out, but there are some seams still in here. What I'm going to do is I'd like to maybe pressure flake a little bit of the edge just to make sure that the platform is good. not take any chances on breaking it. All I'm doing is just taking away, let's see if I can get a little more of that, there we go. Taking away some of the irregular edge here and making kind of a continuous platform so I can strike off at different locations. I want to thin this area here. Oops, I've got my tools. Okay. So let's see if we can pop some flakes off here. Alrighty. That one sounded pretty good. And taking the time to prepare that edge allowed me to get a better flake removal there. See if we can do the same here. Not too bad. Maybe a little more braiding. Doing pretty good. Just trimming a little bit more here. I kind of want to maintain this shape as long as I can. Excuse me. Because this will be great for making that Thebes style point. Okay. So at this stage I like to do a little more back and forth with the pressure flaker and the billet. I'm just flicking away this edge just to try to get in there and get a better flake removal and thin this out a little more, because you really do want to get these Thebes down thin. Okay. See if we can get something here at the base. That looks better. What I'm seeing is when I look at that edge, I want to make sure it's thick enough, because I'm using a pretty heavy billet here, to take that impact and to get that kind of flake removal. As you see, I've got two pretty nice removals there, you know, next to each other, which does a lot of thinning. Okay. So let's get rid of a little high spot here. Yeah, this video might go a little long, so I might split it up into two parts, depending, you know, how well we do here and if I succeed in making a Thebes point. You notice I use my legs a lot as I push in with the flaker. It really does give you an advantage to help push flakes off. Okay. Got one right up here I'd like to try to get. Not too bad. Wasn't as clean as I'd like it, but we'll get it. Okay. There, that was a much better flake removal. See if we can get a little bit here in the base area. Now you don't want to hammer around down there too much because you'll end snap almost every time if you beat around on that base. So you got to be real careful. Okay. This is very good stone, very good working material, and I'm hoping that I'm successful at getting this preform made. Well, let's take a look at it. This side is pretty good. So what you see here is one side almost done. Now the back side needs a lot of work. So let's go to that right now. So I'm going to start trimming and setting the platform up to take on some hits on this side. And as I do this, I'm looking down the edge and I can see where the high spots are. So that's why I pressure flake this way, as I pressure flake looking right down the piece. See, I can see just what there is there. And I'm just trying to snap these pieces off, not pushing them in too hard, because I don't want to set up a lot of hinges. Okay. Now let's see if we can get this tip here to hang in there. Oh, that was a very nice flake removal. You notice I support my finger underneath where I want the flake to come off, and that helps to hold it there. So I've taken off this one, and I might try to get another small one there, which I did. Now I want to go down here and drive that flake all the way to there. Now there is a seam there. Gotta be really careful, because it looks to me like that seam could really let go. So I gotta be careful not to overpower it and to break it. There's a lot of little cracks and seams in this particular piece. So at any time something bad could happen. Almost did there. Okay. We lost a little bit of the bottom because there is that seam starting to show its ugly head. And hopefully I'll be able to work through that. Now we are getting nice and thin, so at some point here real soon I'm going to start making the Thebes style base. Just see if I can get a little bit more thinning done. I got a little bit over here. I might pressure flake here just a little bit. Now sometimes if you really want to run a good flake, I like to use an Ishi stick. Now the Ishi stick gives you a little bit more leverage, a little bit more pressure, and hopefully I won't break this point doing this, but you can push a flake a little further. Now I'm in an area here that has some issues, so I'm going to try to push a few flakes in. This next one's going to be a real tough one because it's right here and there are some irregularities in the area. I'm going to push right in on this, and that flake went all the way to there and it cleaned it off very nicely. So that was good. So now I'm moving around quite a bit, one tool to the next, for whatever job I need to do. Okay. Oh, that was a very good one. Now, I'm still a little concerned about this area down here because it's a little bit irregular. That seam is popping out. That's in the base. So I'm going to try to trim my way up a little bit here, a little higher. See if I can work into that. As always, be really careful when you are hitting the bottom. Now, that flake went right along that seam, so getting a little nervous here because things will break out if we're not careful. So, see if I can thin this area and not lose control of this. It's going to be a little shorter point, because I have to do a lot of work down in this base, and with that seam in there, it's going to cause me a lot of issues. Good chance for failure. Yeah, it would have been nice if this piece had no seams in it. Wouldn't have had to have been as worried about breaking it. Although anytime you strike the stone, you can break it. If there's something hidden in there and you just don't see it. But it's coming along pretty good. It's going to be a nice little preform. So, okay, just a lot more finer work here to be done. And quite often, Thebes points, when they're found in the field, were beveled. We'll have to wait and see how this one goes to see if we put any beveling on it. I do like that look, and it is a sign of resharpening, of course. So, time will tell. Okay, kind of a risky one here. But that came off pretty nice. Always hold my breath when I see where those have to go and how hard you got to hit it sometimes. Again, I'm working with a seam that's right here, and it's really kind of got me on edge just a little bit. Just clean that up a little better. It's still there. I don't expect it to go away, but I hope to work with it and not have it fail. So because of the issues that I've run into with this, it's taken me a little longer than normal. If the stone was flawless, then I could move right along, but I am trying to be a little slower and more careful and deliberate as I work around this really nasty seam area. Now, of all things, it would have to be in the base, but it's not a bad place really to have it. I'd rather have it there than in the tip, because I would almost guarantee the tip would fall off. We don't want that. So what I'm doing is I'm pretty much trying to even out the biface now. Get a little more balanced. Make it so that it's equally worked on both sides. And let's see what we got down here. I have worked a lot of that seam material out. Let's see if I can push a flake right here. It's not too bad yet. Again, you don't really want to hit down in here too much, because you can end snap quite easily when you hit the base. Alright, doing okay. I'm going to try to see if I can pop a pretty good flake right here, because I need some thinning in this area. And if I can get a hold of it and drive a nice thinning flake there, we'll pretty well have this side bifaced. So we'll see how it goes. Let's try this one right here. Went pretty good. Just ended with a little bit of a small hinge-like termination, but I can get that from the opposite direction. Oh yeah, that's coming on very well. So let's try to get that flake to clean off that hinge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come from the other side, I'm going to set it up, just do a little trimming. Yeah, I hope everything stays on this end of the point as it is, because it got kind of a little green tip there, and that would look really cool on this point. So we will see. Pretty good wind out there today. We got a cold front passing through our area, and it's definitely changed the temperature. We were in the 80s here about 2 or 3 days ago, and now we're in the 40s and low 50s. Okay. So what I might do is I might get that Ishi stick back out, and I'm going to see if I can push a pretty good flake right here over to here. Let's see how this goes. Oh yeah, that one went from there to there, and with any luck and the stone holds up, we'll push one from here to here and clean up that area. Very good platform, and it got it. The hinge was here, that flake came right across and picked it up. So the flint knapping gods are working with us, and the point is still surviving. Now that piece went from there all the way to there. So as you can see, the Ishi stick does work very well, especially if you've got good working stone. I'm going to continue to use that to do a little more shaping and thinning. Looking very good. And for the smaller work, I'm going to use just a little hand flaker. Now this one I probably will put a bevel in because it's getting a shape like it wants one. We're just about done shaping the base of it. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but it's getting close now. Okay. And this point has come down quite thin, and that was the whole object, was to get a nice thin preform. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish thinning out this base just a bit more, because I really do want to get a classic Thebes style base going here. So again, I'm working on the seam area. Oh, but that did a good job. That seam now is almost non-existent. It's very fine. And only got a couple more little thinners to do here. I'm just about ready to start putting the base into this point. So what I've done is I basically thinned it, 1, 2, and 3 flakes there. Made the point pretty flat, and starting to get kind of a bevel to it anyway. So let's go and make this base. Now, many years ago, when Chips magazine was published by the Waldorfs, DC had a fantastic article on making Thebes points, and I never forgot it. So I'm going to use a technique here, once I get done playing around with this base, that he used to get the right base. Now my biggest strength is not notching, so I'm hoping that I just do acceptable notches here. Again, now I'm going to clean up the edge just a little more. And I really like the preform. Looks like it came down really nice. And the way he started his base was to come in on the sides. Let me take a few more thinning flakes here. I won't be happy until I do, because when you work in the base area, you really do want that area thin, especially if you're notching or doing anything like that. Okay. Very good. Okay, we got to get some here. That came off very well. Pretty well got one more to get right in here. Let's get a little more breaking. I take the Ishii stick here, see if I can put a little more pressure in there. And we're still in that seam area, but we can work with it. So let's do that. So I'm going to slightly incurve the base, just slightly. I'm just flicking off some very small flakes. Turn it over and kind of do the same until you thicken the edge up enough where you can push a flake in. I'm still kind of playing around in that doggone seam area. That cleaned it up. That was worth the time. Yes. Okay, so to start the base, what I like to do is I like to come in here and make a stem. Now what I mean is I'm going to have this sitting on a box. And make sure when you push these flakes, you push them in to thin the area, because you will be notching in there. And as you see, I'm just kind of making a square stemmed style cut. Let's do the same over here. Okay. Very surprised how well the seam came out of this, because I was thinking that was going to be just a nightmare to deal with it, but so far it seems to be a non-issue at this point. Okay, so here's what we have. We kind of have a stem. Now why you do that is because that allows you to get in there and to get your notches started for the base. So what I do is I pick out the area of the notch and grind it just a little bit with the tip of the flaker, like this, and then push in really hard. Now what that did was that thinned out an area all around here. Flip it over, do the same exact thing over here. So now you've got two really nicely thinned out areas. So a tool I like to use is a flattened out copper nail and a handle, because I want to go in there kind of tight. I don't want to have huge wide notch. So let me dress this up just a little bit. I've got a pounded out copper rod. Just going to take a little bit of the burr off it. And we'll start putting a notch up in there. Cut right in. Just like that. Okay, flip that over. And whoops, go right in there, nice and tight, and just keep cutting that notch right up at an angle towards the tip. And just do this a few times, and you'll get that curve, or that dog leg that they sometimes have, right up into the piece. So this is what we've got. Alrighty. So far so good. I think I'm going to stop right about there. Alright. Well, that's very good. So now you just go over to the other side, and before you do, dress up the end of your tool. Make sure there's no burrs or any hangers or any spots that are going to cause a bad grip on the edge of the stone. And don't try to get every bit of it at once. Take 2 or 3 little flakes. And then you can push that nice thinner right ahead. See, I braided a little bit, and then just go right in there. And by doing this, you keep raising the edge up so that when you flip it over, you're at the lowest point. Let's see if we can get a hold of that. There we go. Sorry about the neighbor dogs, they bark constantly, but that's what you get when you live in the village. Well, what we've got now is 2 pretty good notches. So let me clean those up a little bit, and we'll do a little base shaping here. I always like the shape of a Thebes point, but we've got a whole dog fest going on over there. Every afternoon this is the same thing, yapping away. I don't think I've ever shot a video out here where I didn't have dogs barking. And I'm just slightly incurving the base here. By doing that, it gives you that proper Thebes base look. Yeah, real happy that the seam seemed to melt away. But we are getting a Thebes style point now. And you can be fussy at this point, try to get things where you want it. But I'm going to do a slight beveling here. Now I'm going to show you something about beveling that I like to do. I like to use an antler tine when I bevel, because I like the way antler grips the edge of the stone and pushes those flakes right in. It gives you a nice broad flake, as you see here. So I may have used copper for some of the pressure flaking, but I do like to finish with antler. So let's go right here. Continue to bevel. I know this is a long video, but don't want to hurry the process. And this would have been done traditionally, to resharpen the piece. Okay, so we got a nice set of bevel flakes there. And what we'll do is now, when they beveled, they would go down the edge and then they would flip it over and go down the opposing edge. And this is what gives the piece that twisted look. A lot of people thought they did that so that they would spin through the air. Well, I don't believe that. I believe it's a sign of resharpening using the opposing bevel technique. Notice how well the antler does grip the edge. And the tip of the antler is holding up very well. So it matches up well with stone. And so far I've been able to keep my little green tip up there that I was hoping to maintain. And we'll flip it one more time. Just trying to even things out just a bit more. And we're just about done. So this is how I make a Thebes point. And anybody that's stuck with me this long, through this long video, you get to see all the flakes come off as I did it, which, you know, that's what some people want, is to see every flake. Hope I didn't bore too many people. There we go, our hot rod neighbors, of course. You can tell I live in a village. Dogs, hot rods, kids, all kinds of noise. But it's a great neighborhood. I can't complain. Neighbors will really look out for each other here, and that's what's truly it's all about. So just about done beveling, shaping, and finishing the piece. Just gotta trim that tip just a bit more. Okay, so there it is. There is my finished Thebes point. Real nice and thin, and made out of some absolutely beautiful Flint Ridge calcite. I'll flick that little, there it goes, that little piece off. Now, one of the things a lot of people do, I never forget, I see D.C. Waldorf do something like this, is to get that point to shine right up and to show the true nature of the material. I'm just doing a little basal grinding because that's what was done typically. Just use a little piece of sandstone here. Is they'd rub it on their face. And if it's a hot, sweaty day, there's a lot of moisture on your face. And then they would rub it, and that would just bring the shine right out. Can you see how much shinier that point is now? That's good old Paleo Man 52 sweat on that point. Pretty gross, but yet there it is. And I want to thank you all for watching. I might part with this point. We'll have to wait and see. But this is my instructional video on just how I make a Thebes point. Thanks for watching, folks.